He walked into the old restaurant expecting silence, only to freeze as a soft Italian lullaby floated through the air, each note slicing through 10 years of hardened memories. The voice was gentle, aching with familiarity. When he stepped closer and whispered, "Where did you learn that song?" Her answer shattered everything he thought he knew about his past. The scent of garlic and rosemary drifted through the warm air of Lynott Blue, wrapping itself around every corner of the small restaurant. The faint hum of conversation blended with the gentle clinking of cutlery and the soft melody of a violin playing from an old radio in the corner. Outside, Palermo's narrow streets glimmered beneath lanterns, and waves whispered from the distant harbor. Inside, at a dimly lit table tucked against the back wall, Matteo Romano sat alone, a man carved from silence. His black suit fit him like armor, his expression calm, unreadable. He wasn't there for business or blood. Tonight, he'd wanted nothing more than to eat in peace, away from the noise of the world he ruled. But then, amid the quiet, he heard something that didn't belong to this world at all. A voice. It floated softly from behind the kitchen doors, pure and trembling, singing in Italian with the kind of emotion only memory could teach. The melody wrapped around the room like a whisper, tender and haunting. Matteo froze, his wine glass halfway to his lips. The words curled through his mind like ghosts. Mare calmo, luna chiara, calm sea, bright moon. He hadn't heard that lullaby in more than 20 years, not since he was a boy small enough to fit in his mother's arms. The room seemed to vanish. The candlelight dimmed, the laughter at nearby tables faded, and all that remained was that voice, soft, wistful, and impossibly familiar. His heart pounded against his ribs, a sound louder than the music. He stood, chair scraping softly against the tiled floor, and crossed the room without a word. Through the kitchen doors, the air changed, steam rising from pots, the hiss of boiling water, the rhythmic sound of chopping. And there, by the counter, her back turned to him, stood a young woman humming to herself as she worked. Her hair was tied loosely, strands falling across her face, and she swayed slightly to the melody, lost in it. Matteo took a step closer, his voice breaking the fragile calm. "Where did you learn that song?" The woman gasped, spinning around, her hands still wet from the sink. Her eyes widened at the sight of him, this tall, broad man with eyes sharp enough to cut through lies. I'm sorry," she stammered, "I didn't mean to disturb anyone. It's just a song my grandmother used to sing." He stared at her, disbelief flickering in his gaze. "Your grandmother?" She nodded, clutching her apron. "Yes, she said it was written by her sister, a woman named Lucia Romano." The name hit him like a thunderclap. His breath caught, chest tight. "Lucia Romano," he whispered, his voice trembling. Her brow furrowed. "You know her?" He looked at her as though seeing a ghost. "Know her?" His throat tightened. "She was my mother." The kitchen fell silent. The steam, the noise, the world, everything faded until only two strangers stood there, bound by a song that time could never silence. For a long, suspended moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them felt fragile, stretched thin by the weight of what had just been said. The hum of the kitchen faded, replaced by the faint, distant sound of waves breaking beyond the city walls. Matteo's breath came slow and uneven, his heart pounding as though it was struggling to accept what his ears had just heard. He looked at the girl again, really looked this time, her delicate features, the dark hair that curled just so, the same shade as his mother's. In those eyes, there was something achingly familiar in them, something warm, steady, and impossibly kind. "What did you say your name was?" he asked quietly, his voice softer now, no longer the voice of the feared man people bowed to, but of someone searching. "Isabella," she said after a pause. "Isabella Leone." He repeated it under his breath, tasting the syllables like a memory. Leone, the name tugged at something deep within him, a corner of his past he'd buried with his grief. His mind flashed to an old photograph he used to keep in his wallet. His mother, young and laughing, with her arm around a girl who couldn't have been more than 10. The girl's hair had been dark like Isabella's, her smile shy, her eyes gentle. "Your grandmother," he said slowly, "she wouldn't happen to be Maria Leone, would she?" The woman blinked in surprise. "Yes, how do you?" Matteo took a shaky breath. "Because she was my mother's best friend. They grew up together, here in Palermo, before I was born. Maria was like family. She used to visit us when I was a boy, and she'd bring a little girl with her." He stared at Isabella, realization dawning. "You." Isabella's eyes widened, her lips parting. "That can't be." Mama never told me." She stopped, her voice trembling. "She said her friend Lucia died years ago." Pain flashed across Mateo's face. He turned away, jaw tightening. "She didn't. Not truly, but something inside her did." His gaze shifted to the floor, his hands curling into fists. "She was taken from us. Not by death, by the life I chose. And I've been paying for it ever since." The kitchen was silent again. The cooks exchanged uncertain glances but said nothing, their movements slowing as they sensed the storm brewing beneath the calm. Isabella took a cautious step forward. "Why are you telling me this?" Mateo met her eyes, his own glistening with something raw. "Because if you know that song, if she taught it to you, then you're the last piece of her I didn't lose." Her hand went to her chest, fingers brushing against a small silver pendant, a crescent moon. "My grandmother said it was a gift," she whispered. Mateo stared at it, his breath catching again. "I gave that to her, the night before she disappeared."